What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the CDC podcast. And in this episode, I want to expand on investing. Last episode, I talked about how you can take bold, irrational, and gut-led moves to continue to build your business. But I do want to open up and create an episode talking solely about investing. How do you know if an investment is good? What do you do if an investment is bad? What your definition of investing is? Because a lot of practitioners, especially younger business owners, they approach Lauren and I all the time and they're asking, like, how did you know that that was the right investment to make? How did you know to spend that much time on that? Weren't you afraid of wasting money on this? How did you know you were going to get back your ROI? And whenever I hear all of those things, it's a big indicator to me that someone has a fear of wasting. They have a fear of either wasting their time, they have a fear of actually wasting the energy that they put to something, or wasting their money, or worst case scenario, wasting all three. When I look towards an investment, I actually don't think that there is a such thing as a bad investment when you're growing, because we can learn lessons from everything. That being said, I also know that when I look at the coaches that we work with inside of C2C, and when I look at how I operate myself, I don't invest in traditional ways that people invest in. Most people look for ROIs. Most people are making sure that they're dotting their I's and crossing their T's. Most people say to themselves, well, okay, if I do this, then there's a guarantee attached to the program, or if I bring on this teammate, I can fire them in 30 days if it doesn't work out. And all those ways are really focusing on the negative. It's focusing highly on the risk, and you're actually losing the opportunity to really take your business to the next level or to maximize the thing that you're investing in. So I do want to focus on business for this. That being said, this goes to personal as well too. It doesn't really matter whether you're focusing on investing in something personally or you're investing in something in the business. These three questions Lauren and I use all the time, and it really helps us define whether or not it's something that we should invest in. Because most people, the reason why they end up wasting the time, the reason why they end up wasting the resources is really two things. Number one, they didn't do their due diligence up front. They made a decision based 100% on emotion, and they weren't really understanding what they were doing. So they made the mistake up front, and that cost them. Or the second thing is, most people, when they invest in something, don't know when to cut it off. And there are times where you're going to have to cut off an investment. Maybe you spend 2 to 3 months building a program and you say to yourself, you know what, actually, I want to go into the speaking range. Okay, well, are you still going to invest time and energy on this, or are you going to pivot? Are you going to make that big move? And I talked about that last episode. And if you haven't seen it, make sure that you go there. I'll link it right here in my little blurb of the hand there. But the reason why I say those kind of two places is because if someone doesn't do the due diligence up front, it's very easy for you to not make a decision out of a gut check, for you to make a decision purely out of a dopamine hit. And most practitioners and health coaches who are very intuitive and they're very energetic, sometimes they go way too quick in the decisions, and they're not asking the right questions. They're not thinking to themselves, okay, like, what are the benefits? What are the negatives? What are the downsides? And these are all things that you can consider. I don't recommend you take those 100% and say, okay, I have to go 100% logical with this choice. But there are things that you have to ask yourself prior to making the choice. Because whenever we commit something, whether it's time, energy, or money, that is a form of transfer. We are transferring our capacity, we're transferring a bit of ourselves, and connecting down the road somewhere, there does have to be a return. When people look at ROI, they're solely focusing on either time or they're focusing on money. If I spend X amount of time, I'm going to get X amount of money back. If I spend X amount of money, then I should be able to buy this back amount of time. But really, it's actually a lot more complicated than that. ROI is not something as simple that can be calculated by numbers and finances. And most of the stuff that's number based, I'm sure you could put a number to it. ROI is largely based off of your capacity, how good you feel in your business, whether or not it's something that's in alignment for you, because just because something saves you time doesn't mean it makes sense, or just because something makes you money doesn't mean it's something that excites you. And so I put together three questions that effectively I ask myself every time I go to invest in something that has really helped me make quick investment decisions and at the same time continue to grow and scale my business quite rapidly. So I'm going to share these questions with you here. The first one is, how long will this serve us? Whenever I go to take on anything inside of my business, I say to myself, okay, I'm going to hire a mentor that's going to help me start my YouTube channel. I did that and I worked with that mentor for 6 months. My question, the first question that I put in was, how long will this serve us? If I work with this mentor and I learn the skills, then I have the YouTube skills for life. I have the ability to create the content. I have the ability to create the messaging. I know exactly how to put it out there. And that is a skill that I can use in perpetuity. I can always improve on it. It can always be something that continues to get better and better. So even after the program is done, it is something that stays with me that I'm going to continue to grow. So it's really about speed. If this serves me in perpetuity, how quickly can I then learn this skill? How quickly can I then get this down so I can move into the continuous improvement phase? Asking how long it will serve you is largely looking at the long-term benefits. And most people, whenever they're committing to something in their business, they're always focused on the short term. Like when you hire a mentor and you're saying to yourself, okay, it's a 6 month program. I don't look at mentorship that way. I say to myself, if I'm going to have a mentor and this mentor is going to be a part of my life and all of the tools and skills that they're going to teach me, I'm going to carry on. What is the mentor's tools, tips, and what is it that they're providing to me that I'm going to be able to use 10 years from now? What am I going to be able to carry 15 years from now? What am I going to be able to teach my team from that mentor? So when you start applying that, the time, the energy, and the money investment actually changes because we're no longer looking at such a small time frame. We're no longer saying to ourselves, okay, it's this exact logical box, and then afterwards there's nothing. You're actually looking at the long-term benefits. So as a great example of this, like one of my very first, no, actually, he was my second mentor, not my first mentor, was Alex Ramosi. I was in his gym launch program when we had a studio location. And then when we moved online, we ended up just going high ticket. So the model didn't work for us anymore. When I worked under Alex and was working with him as a coach, he taught me sales at a very early age. Sales in a way that was aligned with me and that wasn't high pressure. Because of his sales teachings that I learned 8 years ago, I've become an incredibly effective salesman because I've continued to build off of the foundations that he taught me. His teachings at the very beginning was something that effectively I built on for the past decade. So when I look at how much I spent and then I extrapolate that over the span of the 10 years, the investment was freaking peanuts as to how much I've signed up. Because every tool I used, every objection I handled, every time I was able to do an upsell, these are all things that were contributed to the original skill. So if you don't look and say to yourself, well, how is this going to serve me later on in my business? You're never going to fully be able to grasp the value of what you are investing in. And that's really what you are investing in. When you go to invest and do something in your business, you're investing in its value. I hire an employee because I want the value of taking back my time. I create another program because I want the value to be able to serve a client in a higher way so they can invest more in me. If I go and I'm even investing something like a software and I'm changing up my software, it's because I value the tidiness of the system, the less clunkiness, the ability to be able to get my stuff very quickly, being able to save me time. Maybe it's got an all-in-one CRM. All of these things are great investments because they are tied directly to the value. So ask that question to help you clarify what the value is. And then there's the second question. The second question I ask myself is, what is it really for? A lot of health coaches and practitioners don't ask themselves this enough whenever they're taking on something new inside of their business. They just make the investment emotionally and they're not asking, well, what is this really for? And a classic example of this is different levels of coaching. There's coaching, which is someone is teaching you the how. There is mentorship, which someone is teaching you why the how isn't working. There's stewardship, where someone is effectively telling you what to do and you are following their footsteps and applying their process. So that way you can basically build the kind of business model that they have. There's a lot of different ways that you can work with someone in terms of coaching or mentoring or stewardship. But a lot of people don't realize this. So when they go and they say to themselves, ooh, I think I'm in a place where I want to grow my business, they say, well, I want to hire a new coach. I want to take on another person. I want to be able to take myself to the next level. Now they're looking for the person, but they're not asking themselves, what is it really for? Am I here to learn the how, in which case I need a coach? Am I here because I know the how, but for some reason I'm still at a sticking point, so I need to know why? Why isn't it not working? In that case, I need a mentor. Do I want stewardship, where I'm just working with someone to show me the basic steps so then I can take it long term, like I did with my YouTube coach? So, what is this really for? Or even something as simple as bringing on a teammate. Most people start to get busy inside of their practices, and the first thing that they should be hiring is the VA. Now, when they bring in the VA, it's natural to say, oh, I'm just going to get the VA to do all the things that I don't want to do, like sales, like other things. And they start offloading wrong tasks to this person. And then what happens is their business suffers, and then they're forced to let that person go, or they have to make a lot of emergency changes on the fly. When you're bringing someone on, the question becomes, what is it really for? Are you bringing it on to free up your time? Or are you bringing a person on to free up your energy and your mental capacity? Maybe it's actually not going to make you money, but it gives you peace of mind. Well, there's a level of value that's for that. Or are you bringing this person on because they are going to help you generate revenue? If we're not clear on what it's really for, whether it's bringing on a teammate or working with a mentor, then what happens is we can invest in something and our expectations and our outcomes are not aligned. I'm expecting one thing, but the outcome that it gets me is something completely and entirely different. And this is where a lot of people might get burned with a traditional investment. They invest in something having a vision in their mind of how it's going to go. And then all of a sudden they go through the process and they're like, oh, this wasn't the way that I envisioned. And coaching is classic for this. This is why whenever coaches come on inside of the C2C, one of the things that I really strive to understand at the very beginning is what is it exactly that you're looking for? Because most of the coaches that work with us, they're over 1.2 million in their business. They've got the 2 to 300 clients on recurring and repeat. And as they go through that process, they know the how. They know how to be able to create a landing page. They know how to be able to create content. They're posting regularly. They have a CRM that's already set up. The how is not more than they need. I don't need to explain to them a call to action, or I don't need to teach them how to post on Instagram. They get that stuff. Really, when they come to me, they're like, well, what I'm doing is not working as effectively anymore. I feel like I've hit a ceiling for my one-on-one time. And now I have to take myself to the next level. I maybe have to transition from one-on-one into offering group programs. Maybe I have to take my practice from being session based to how can I get it into a monthly service? And this is where, when they have a deep understanding of what they're really looking for, what it's really for, then I can help them in the best way because I say, okay, well, if you're looking to now take this into a practice or a coaching service that takes back your one-on-one time, this is where we change your programs. This is where we alter the offers. This is how now you know what action steps to take. Or sometimes even something as simple as mindset, where I have a lot of coaches that come to me and they're like, look, my business is successful, but I'm burnt out. I'm burnt out and I don't find it as exciting as I used to. And I know it's affecting my sales. I don't want to push my programs because I got a lot of people. I don't want to take on the next new level of growth or bring on that next teammate because I'm already capped for time and I don't know how I'm going to manage this person. When then what it's really for them is about peace of mind, it's about mental clarity, and it's about taking back their capacity. So again, understanding what it's really for comes back to tying your outcome versus the vision or the desire that you have. You want to make sure that that vision and the desire matches the outcome that you are actually investing in. Otherwise, you might find yourself disappointed at the end. And then the last question is why now? Why now is not an urgency or a scarcity. And a lot of times when you hear salespeople will use why now to create a sense of importance. Why now is a very important question for you because when you are investing in something, there is a level of priority that you have to look in your business and a level of priority that you have to look into your life. You cannot say yes to everything. As a matter of fact, I will tell you, do not say yes to everything because that's how you stretch your capacity. That's how you spread yourself thin. And that's how you're going to leave yourself ending up being burnt out. And it doesn't mean that you can't take on anything. You can do anything you want with your business. Your business is absolutely limited, especially with online now. That being said, just because you can take on anything, does that mean you should? So, really great example. There's a training space that's close to me, and they do a bunch of classes, but they also have PT, but they're also a 24-hour gym, and there's a lot of services that are going on. And then it's like, well, what is the primary service that you're pushing? How are you actually trying to grow this specific thing? Is it memberships? Is it classes? Is it you want to be able to fill out in the PT? You want more 24-hour people? What is it that you are specifically looking for? Because what you focus on is what expands. So the why now is largely about understanding the priority sequence that whatever you are looking to invest in falls in. So let's talk about mentoring. Typically, if I were to say, why now in terms of, hey, I want to work with you as a mentor, people are going to say, well, you know what, for the past 3 to 4 months, my growth has been stagnant. And I don't want it to be another week or another month go by. I'm a self led person, I'm highly driven. So I want to take that next step. Why now helps clarify in the process what needs to be your focus in this moment. Because sometimes the things that we invest in, they have different levels of priorities. So I'll give you guys an example. I'm doing multiple things. I've got a shit ton of stuff on the go, and I am kind of at almost at peak capacity, which is why I'm only working one-on-one with coaches right now. I'm setting up the speaking still for TEDx, which is a very big process. I'm in the process of writing my book. I'd say I'm about 40% done, which is absolutely incredible. And on top of that, I'm running the YouTube channel. This is the fifth month that the channel has been launched, which is incredible. And then I'm also, of course, running my coaching business. Every single one of these things I have invested in. I've invested time, I've invested money, I've invested energy, my capacity. All of these things have went into it, but they all have different priority sequences. So as an example, me servicing and building my coaching business is always going to be number one. Number two is followed by the speaking. I want to be able to speak on stages. I've spoken on many smaller stages, but I really want to take myself to the next level and put myself on TEDx. So, in order for me to do that, I've invested heavily with a coach who helps people get stage ready. So, when they're speaking, they don't end up falling apart on stage. And that has a certain time frame, which means that a lot of my energy and my time has to go into completing that successfully and then also doing the tasks required of doing the applying. Next would be my book, and then everything following that is whatever the kind of urgency is in that sequence. So when I say to myself, why now? I'm asking the question to determine the priority and its level of importance. Because I would say if it's not a number one or number two priority, you really shouldn't be something you're investing time, energy, and focus in. Because what you focus on expands. And if you're not focusing on something, you're going to find slow growth across many areas. And this is where a lot of practitioners and coaches, whenever they come to me and they say that growth is stalled, the first thing that I say is, tell me everything that you have on the go. And they're like, well, I have my practice and I'm also building my online program. And then I'm also trying to do the speaking at the same time. And then I'm part in a book with this and I'm sharing a space with here. And all of these things are preventing areas of growth in the one thing that you want. What you want to grow is effectively your business. So that should be the thing that is the primary focus. So why now isolates the time frame. Have you been stalled for the past 4 to 5 months? Okay, then why now is a very important question because you don't want to be stalled another 4 to 5 months. Have you been in a space where you've been capped for your one on one time? And you're saying to yourself, well, I've hit a revenue ceiling. Okay, well, the why now in that is very important because unless you free up your one on one time, you're still going to be stuck at that revenue ceiling. You know when you've hit a ceiling, and this is where you have to clarify when the why now is very important. If it becomes the priority, then that's the thing that you invest in. So for me, the why now is if I can learn a tool or a skill that I do not currently have that will take me to the next level, why now is important. If I can have someone show me the way to save me a bucket ton of time, aka hiring the speaking coach, where instead of taking 2 years to figure this out, I can do it in an 8 month period. Boom, sign me up, I'm all in. So all three of these questions, they end up going together. How long will this serve us? I'm thinking about the value long term. What is it really for? I'm getting a clear idea and understanding of what my vision is for this thing that I'm investing in, and then what the outcome is. And then why now? What is my actual priority for this? Now, in going through these questions, I will say if I can't answer those with clarity and confidence, I don't do it. I don't. I say no. So no matter how logical it seems to be the next step, if you cannot answer those three questions with confidence, it actually shouldn't be something that you invest in. That being said, Sometimes we invest in things and maybe halfway through you say, hey, my priorities have changed. Or maybe it's not something that I'm seeing is in alignment with me anymore. You can always make a new choice. Business is filled with a ton of trial runs. You're going to have tons of opportunities to try new and different things, to see what works for you, to see what you're in alignment with, to see what's going to take you to the next level. And there's no right or wrong way to be able to continue to build this. And we can invest in our businesses and in ourselves in tons of different ways. So I want to share with you some of the things that I've invested in that, like, some people will be like, okay, well, did that work for you? Did it not work for you? Like, let's start with masterminds. I've invested in tons of masterminds that didn't deliver, where they came in, they said, hey, we're going to do X, Y, and Z for you. You're going to learn this. And I said, okay, not a problem. And I invested in them. And even though they weren't able to deliver the result that they said that they were going to deliver, I still got one gold nugget that changed everything for me. So, as a great example of this, Alex Hormozi's program was fantastic. It was not for me because our studio transitioned for online and we went from selling, $99 to $199 memberships to we were charging $3,500 to $5,500 per program. That was a considerable jump from the model that he was promoting that would be successful in facilities. Staying in that model actually wasn't something that was working for me because a lot of people weren't serious and we were having a lot of fall off rates. So I made the decision to change to high ticket. I started no more than $897 a month, going all the way up to I think it was $1355 a month. And that changed everything for me. So I got the value to understand sales from Alex, which was incredible. And then I pivoted my model anyways, and I changed it to something that was in alignment with me. So the gold nugget and the value for me was understanding that I could be a better salesperson through service rather than this outcome from the specific program that I thought I was going to get. There have also been programs that I outgrew. And what that taught me was how fast I evolved. So, as an example, I'm in this speaking program right now. A lot of these speakers have very, very new businesses. They're not established business owners. Some of them only have 5 to 10 clients. And so what happens is you join a container and you're joining for one specific thing. And my specific thing was, I want you to show me how to apply so I can get on a TEDx stage. That was my objective. Once I cleared that objective, and I cleared it within the first 3 weeks of this 8-month program, I wasn't upset that I invested 8 months. No, I still have access to a community. I still have access to the resources. I still have access to the support. What it taught me, which was actually something very exciting, is it taught me how fast I evolved. I was looking at this and I was like, wow, people take 4 months to learn this. And I learned it in the first 3 weeks. There are people hopping on calls every day saying to themselves, how do I create a social media post? And I'm like, I'm posting 3 times a day. Our content's curated. We've got the YouTube channel. Like, this is something that I've just scaled very, very quick. So even if you go and you take something on, or you invest in a mentor, or you invest in a program, you outgrowing the program is great. It means that you're evolving at a very quick pace. And it actually means that your growth and your intuition is something that's rolling very, very quickly. When it comes to people, there have been people I hired who didn't work out. Tons of people. And you know what? That actually showed me what I do want in a team. At the very beginning, all of the people who didn't work out that I invested in as teammates, I 100% take accountability and ownership as it was me. I hired people because I liked them as people. I hired people because there were certain things that I didn't want to do. And truthfully, at the very beginning of my business, I was kind of lazy. I also hired people because I thought that they were going to carry me in my weak skills. And I said to myself, well, you know what? I'm not very strong in this. So I'm going to hire this person and hopefully they'll be able to do it better than me. And every single time I hired from the place of desperation, I hired from the place of, I'm just going to invest this because I hope it's going to work out. It didn't. Big surprise. And that actually showed me what I do want in a team. Now, when we bring on teammates, whether it's VAs or we're having people do content or we're having people like help us create backend systems for coaches and stuff, everyone that I bring on, first, it's always vision, mission, and values. They have to align with my brand and fully understand what I'm trying to create inside of Coach to Coach. Once they understand the mission, vision, values, then I look towards, okay, how can they supplement me so that way when they come on, we continue to thrive. The whole team loves their energy. The whole team can work with them. So it showed me what I do want in a team. And I never would have learned that if I hadn't have made the investment mistakes of bringing people on and not really doing my due diligence or just kind of doing hires of friends and stuff like that. Like there was tons of different people that didn't work. Okay. Through business, there's also been ideas that I abandoned. There have been so many ideas in business, from month-long retreats to programs that I've had tons of programs where halfway through I say to myself, you know what? This is actually talking to a low-level client, someone who's based on struggle. And I scrap the program idea. I pivot from softwares very quickly. I pivot from SOPs very quickly. Sometimes people fall in love with their operating procedures and they're like, no, we got to stick to the script. I'm regularly adding and deleting things from my processes. And I do that because an idea is an idea. And sometimes you go halfway through and you realize it's not in alignment with you. It's not a good fit for your business. It's not going to be something that drives growth forward. Maybe you just have something better and you're like, oh, if I don't act on this now, I'm going to miss the opportunity. That's okay. So when I abandoned the ideas, it's because I realized I had outgrown them. They no longer served me in that moment, and it wasn't something that was energetically in alignment with me. So I share this because there's no mistakes. There's no such thing as the right or wrong decision in business because we make decisions right by making adjustments. High level business owners aren't looking for perfect investments. There's no such thing as a perfect investment. Even if you listen to the podcast episode before where I talk about the rental property, you could have an investment that makes money but still not be right for you. Perfect investments don't exist. Things where people think that you can kind of plug in a dollar and it just continues to make money on repeat, that doesn't exist. That's for lazy people who try to want to make quick and fast money. That's not where you're in alignment with as a practitioner. That's not where you're in alignment with as a business owner. You know, you want to be connected to your business. You know, you want to be fully in alignment with the things that you take on. You know that the clients you want to work with should be in alignment with you and you could have a shit ton of fun with them. All of that means that you're going to have to make decisions and sometimes you're not going to get it 100% right. So when you're taking on these investments, you don't need perfect investments. You just need reps. You need to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. You need to figure out what's in alignment for you and maybe some of the things that you need to delete. So in doing that, in deleting, in removing the things that don't serve you, in pivoting away from these investments, in saying to yourself, oh, that wasn't a bad investment. I actually learned one to two things. It actually helps move you to become the leader who can take more time to travel, who can take the time off, who can handle the pressure without burnout. Because every single time you make this decision, you make this pivot, you gain more confidence. Successful practitioners and successful coaches, successful business owners have confidence inside of their business and inside of their model. They're confident with how they deliver their program. They're confident with the level of messaging that they deliver. And they know for a fact that their team, their systems, and their processes are fully in place and they're right to be able to handle an infinite amount of people. So whenever an objection comes up, whenever a challenge comes in front of them, whenever something doesn't work out, they're not saying, oh, poor me, this sucks. None of the coaches inside of C2C have any ill will, any bearings. Every time they say, oh, I did this and it didn't quite work out, but I learned this, the first thing that they tell me was, hey, you know that marketing thing that I wanted to do? I put it out there. I didn't quite see the result, but so interesting, I saw X, Y, and Z. I was able to see where the call to actions were really missing. I was able to see what people were responding to in the emails. They look for the positive first, and that's how you're going to be able to handle that pressure. That's why when I look at my investments now, I'm not looking at the dollar value because if you're looking at the value over lifetime, the dollar value is peanuts. It always is. Lorna and I have invested, well, Lorna's invested way more in terms of coaching, and like the highest coach she invested in was I think 44,000 for 2 months worth of coaching. And someone goes, holy cow, what did they teach you in 2 months? A shit ton. Being in the energy in the first week taught Lorna everything that she needed for the next 3 years of her business. But the thing is you can't look at that value and say to yourself, well, it's just a 2 month time frame. You have to say to yourself, well, what is it that I'm learning that I'm going to be able to take for the rest of my life? Who am I going to become? who am I going to change? So I would encourage you to start approaching the way that you're investing inside of your business this way, because the business owners that invest this way, that aren't afraid to make the changes, to make the pivots and make the moves, that will take on the teammate, knowing that it's going to benefit them. All of those things work. They just continue to make the adjustments. And maybe the person you tweak the onboarding and they end up working out. Maybe that person that you got to edit the content, maybe the content wasn't so great, but actually they ended up being a great video editor. So now you're creating videos with them. All of it ends up becoming a positive. And it's these positives that stack up to make it look like you're investing really smart. Like when Lorna and I are talking to people and they're like, holy cow, like you guys are making so many moves and like, look at all these things that are happening for you. Yeah, it's happening because we have a level of confidence and a level of trust. Confidence is what you are looking to build. Confidence is what makes the delusional reality. It's what allows you to sell the 30K program without worrying whether or not someone's going to buy it. It allows you to be able to put the offer out there already knowing it's going to be filled without even having a message as to whether or not someone is interested. When you lead with confidence, it allows you to act really quickly because confidence is certainty. So that's a big thing that I built out throughout the entire, basically past 8 years, almost a decade of my life in business, and it's helped me a shit ton. So I hope that this helps you guys as well too. Before we go for the episode, I want to talk about the Overflow upgrade. This is the last week to join the Overflow. The big thing with Overflow Upgrade, which I'm super, super pumped about, is the practitioners that we're talking to are already in a space where they're super filled, but they're excited to be able to build out a program and an offer where they can fill in all of these one-on-one clients into that single program in that capacity and be able to take back like 30 hours of their time. I'm speaking with a chiropractor right now, and basically it's going to save like 12 hours off just the first transfer of his client base. And he's like, holy cow, like, what am I going to do with 12 hours? And I'm like, live your freaking life. It's truly an incredible thing when you can be able to put together an offer that runs, markets, promotes, and signs on clients without you, where the only thing you get to focus on is the delivery, is creating the content, and it's really just showing up as the professional, which is what you like anyways. I mean, most people don't want to get stuck into creating the landing pages or the back end systems or trying to put together this course code. It actually takes a lot more time than you think. And this is the type of stuff where when you think of it from an investment perspective, you have to think long term. If I'm going to take a year to build out a course, that's going to cost me time. It's going to cost me money. It's going to cost me capacity. Versus if I join something like the Overflow, I can have this up in the first 2 months. The program's already filled. We're launching another offer. And now we're looking at the next program and the next offering. This is where you have to look and say to yourself, holy cow, how much time am I actually wasting by making these decisions very slow? I will say something about the Overflow. The right investment doesn't just make you money. The right investment makes you the version of yourself who makes money with ease. And that's very important. Every single time I have looked towards investing a coach or a mentor, it has always made me a better person or given me better skills to make money faster. I've never lost these skills. And that's why I continue to charge more and more. It's why it's easier for me to get more and more clients because every single time I learn a new skill from one of my coaches, I can apply it right away and I become version 2.1 and 2.2. And this is exactly the way that the Overflow upgrade has been built out. It's been built out not just as a done for you course where we're going to build out your offer and we're going to help you fill it. That's the easy part. It's the done with you part where we're helping you on the mindset. We're helping you work towards being able to be an open investor, be able to build your team, helping you set up and establish your correct system. So that way it's very easy for you to be able to travel and you don't have to worry about your business falling apart and your team's got it and you have the right people in the right places to make the best moves. It doesn't mean involving a large team. It doesn't mean taking on huge expenses. What it means is investing in the right way. It's leading with value. It's making sure that the vision of your life matches the outcome that you are looking for. And the outcome, we all know what it is. It's time freedom. It's being able to have a self-sustaining business that runs without you. And of course, a business that makes money. And then the last thing, it's making sure that through this process, you have the priority of yourself. The why now in business should always be you. If it's not about you, then you're not building the business in the right way. You're building a business to serve everyone else but yourself. You went into business because you saw the value and the potential for yourself, for your family, and for everyone around you. And that's exactly how we can build it. So we still have 2 spots available for the overflow upgrade. You can DM me the word overflow on Instagram, or you could go to growmycoaching.com/overflow upgrade, and I'll drop the link, boom, right over here, where you can learn more about the program. And this will also help you book a discovery call with me. So that way we can make sure that the program is in fact right for you. If it is, boom, we get you fired up and started in less than 2 months. I'm super pumped for it. So this is the last week with it. If you join this week as well too, you get access to 2 programs. You get access to my program, Client Converting Content, and No BS Sales, both of them the fundamental programs and foundations that allowed me to sign 4,400 clients over the span of 8 years. Client Converting Content helps you create content that attracts the right people towards you, and No BS Sales helps you be able to prescribe your offer like a doctor to a patient. It's one of the best programs that I've ever made. It's a combination of course, the teachings of Alex Ramosi, but also the teachings of a chiropractor that I met who fundamentally changed the game of what I call the prescriptive method, which is really cool. I'll probably actually do a podcast on the prescriptive method later because it's a really fire piece. But all in all, to say you got 1 week left. Do not miss on the opportunity because then doors close because it's a pretty intensive process. We're only working one-on-one with people. Thanks so much for listening to the episode, and we will catch you on the next one of the season. Bye for now. Take care.